Verified department records. Genuine field evidence. Unbiased justice. Welcome to Bodycam Incident Reports.
I just watched you stash cash. You're stealing.
Midday drop, store policy. Place your order or leave.
I know the owner. Open that bag now, or I call 911.
Ma'am, step back. Do you have ID?
Look at the license on the wall, Maya Jefferson.
The man in the expensive Italian suit holding the latest iPhone had no idea that the aggressive employee he was reporting was not stealing. She was counting the midday drop. He had no idea that she wasn't just a barista. He had no idea that the personal friend of the owner line was about to backfire in the most spectacular, humiliating way possible. And he certainly didn't know that the high-definition security camera specifically positioned above the point-of-sale system was recording every slur, every lie, and every ounce of entitlement dripping from his voice. At exactly 2:15 p.m. on a rainy Tuesday in Seattle, what began as a man trying to exert power over a young black woman he viewed as beneath him turned into a viral sensation that would shatter a reputation, expose deep-seated corporate racism, and prove that in the age of information, assumptions are the most dangerous things you can make. This wasn't just a coffee shop dispute. This was a collision between old-world entitlement and new-world justice. Before we dive into how this man's life unraveled in 4K resolution, where in the world are you watching from? Drop your city and state in the comments and go ahead and hit that subscribe button because this story serves up a double shot of justice that you do not want to miss. Maya Jefferson was 26 years old and she was the heartbeat of the daily grind. To the morning commuters, she was the cheerful face who had their oat milk lattes ready before they even reached the counter. To the local college students, she was the supportive presence who would slip them a free pastry during finals week. But to the business world, Maya was a force to be reckoned with. She held a master's degree in business administration from the University of Washington and was a certified CPA. Maya wasn't just working the counter because she had to. She was working it because she loved it. The coffee shop belonged to her father, Marcus Jefferson. Marcus had started the business 30 years ago with a single cart and had built it into a chain of 5 premier locations across the city. Maya had grown up in these shops. She learned to steam milk before she learned to ride a bike. She understood the margins, the supply chain, and the roasting process better than anyone on the payroll. She was currently the vice president of operations, but she believed in leading from the front. Every Tuesday, she took a shift at the original downtown location to stay connected with the staff and the customers. But Maya knew something else, too. She knew what it felt like to be underestimated. She knew that when she wasn't wearing her blazer and sitting in the corporate office when she was wearing the green apron and a baseball cap, certain people saw her differently. She had been followed in department stores. She had been ignored by waiters in fine dining restaurants until her white friends arrived. She had been asked, "Do you work here?" at her own graduation party. She had trained her staff on conflict de-escalation. She had installed state-of-the-art audio and visual recording systems in all the stores, not just to prevent theft, but to protect her employees from harassment. She knew that in the service industry, the customer is always right, except when they are abusive. And today, she was about to give a masterclass in how to handle a bully. The antagonist of our story was Arthur Sterling. Arthur was 55, a senior partner at a high-stakes corporate law firm just 2 blocks away. He drove a luxury sedan, wore suits that cost more than most people's cars, and carried himself with the air of a man who had never been told no in his entire life. Arthur had recently moved to the city from a very homogeneous, affluent suburb. He viewed the city's diversity not as a strength, but as a sign of decline. He often complained to his colleagues about how the neighborhood was changing and how you can't get good service anymore. On this particular afternoon, Arthur was having a bad day. He had lost a motion in court. He was wet from the rain. He wanted a double espresso, and he wanted someone to take his frustration out on. When he walked into the daily grind, he saw a young black woman behind the counter. The shop was relatively quiet, the lull between the lunch rush and the afternoon pick-me-up. Maya was at the register. She had the drawer open. She was organizing the bills, moving excess cash to a drop bag, a standard security procedure to keep the register funds low. She took a stack of 20s, counted them efficiently, and clipped them together. Arthur approached the counter, not waiting for her to finish. He cleared his throat loudly. "I'll be with you in just 1 second, sir," Maya said, offering a polite smile without stopping her count. That was Arthur's first trigger. He didn't like waiting, and he certainly didn't like being told to wait by someone wearing an apron. "I'm in a hurry," Arthur snapped. "I understand. I'm just securing the drawer. It's store policy," Maya replied calmly. She placed the cash bundle into the secure drop bag. Arthur's eyes narrowed. In his mind, distorted by prejudice and a lifetime of privilege, he didn't see a manager following protocol. He saw a stereotype. He saw an opportunity to exert authority. "What are you doing here?" Arthur demanded, his voice echoing in the quiet shop. Maya looked up, confused. "I'm working, sir. What can I get for you?" "I saw that," Arthur said, pointing a manicured finger at her. "I saw you put that cash in the bag. You're skimming. You're stealing from the register." Maya paused. She had dealt with rude customers, confusing orders, and even drunk patrons. But this was different. This was a direct accusation of criminal conduct based on absolutely nothing but his own bias. "Sir, this is a cash drop. I'm moving excess bills to the safe. It's standard procedure." "Don't lie to me," Arthur sneered, stepping closer to the counter, invading her personal space. "I know a drop when I see one. You were looking around nervously. You thought nobody was watching. I live in this building's penthouse. I know the owner of this place, Marcus. He's a good man. He wouldn't want someone like you robbing him blind." Maya felt a flash of heat rise up her neck. Not only was he accusing her of theft, but he was name-dropping her own father to intimidate her. "If you know the owner," Maya said, her voice dropping an octave, becoming steel, "then you should know that he trusts his staff." "I know he hires people from certain programs," Arthur said, his tone dripping with condescension. "Charity hires, giving people a second chance, but clearly you're blowing yours. I want you to open that bag and put the money back in the register, and then I want your manager's name." "I am the manager on duty," Maya said. "Bull." Arthur laughed, a harsh barking sound. "You, the manager, don't make me laugh. You look like you barely finished high school. Now give me the money or I'm calling the police." Quick question for the audience. If you were in Maya's shoes, knowing you owned the place, would you reveal your identity right away, or would you let him dig his own grave, type reveal, or wait in the comments below? Maya made a choice. She knew the cameras were rolling. She knew this man was dangerous, not physically perhaps, but socially and legally. Men like Arthur destroyed lives with a phone call. She needed him to commit fully to his lie. She needed the evidence to be irrefutable. "Sir, I am not giving you the cash drop bag. That is against security protocol, and I am asking you to either place an order or leave the premises. You are disrupting business." That was when Arthur snapped. "You're kicking me out. I'm a partner at Sterling & Finch. I make more in an hour than you make in a year. You are stealing, and I am making a citizen's arrest." He pulled out his phone. He dialed 911. He spun a tale of an aggressive employee and theft in progress. He lied about her behavior. He lied about feeling threatened. He played the victim perfectly, weaponizing the police against a young woman doing her job. Maya stood still. She didn't scream. She didn't argue. She simply crossed her arms, looked directly into the security camera lens above Arthur's head, and waited. 2 police officers arrived within 6 minutes, Officer Miller and Officer Davison. They walked in hands, resting near their belts, scanning the room. Arthur immediately flagged them down, putting on his best concerned citizen face. "Officers, thank God you're here," Arthur said, breathless. "This woman, she's been emptying the register. I caught her stuffing cash into a bag. When I confronted her, she got aggressive. She refused to identify herself. I'm worried she might have a weapon back there." Officer Miller looked at Maya. She was standing calmly behind the counter, the drop bag sitting openly on the counter surface. She hadn't tried to hide it. She hadn't tried to run. "Ma'am, step away from the counter," Officer Miller commanded. "I am complying, officer," Maya said, taking 2 steps back, hands visible. "But I need you to know that this man is filing a false report." "Quiet," Arthur interrupted. "See, she's argumentative. Check her bag. The money is in there. Thousands. Officer Davison approached the counter. "Ma'am, what's in the bag?" "Cash receipts from the last 4 hours," Maya said clearly. "I was performing a midday drop to the safe." "She's lying," Arthur shouted. "She was pocketing it. I know the owner, Marcus Jefferson. He would never authorize a girl like this to handle that kind of cash." Officer Miller looked at Arthur, then back at Maya. The bias was palpable in the room. The dynamic was classic, the wealthy older white man in a suit versus the young black woman in an apron. The officers were leaning toward Arthur's narrative. It was the default setting of the system. "Ma'am, do you have ID?" Officer Miller asked. "My ID is in the back office," Maya said, "along with the ownership deeds to this building." The room went silent. Arthur blinked. "What? I don't need to go to the back to prove who I am." Maya continued, her voice steady and projecting to the few other customers watching in awe. "You can look at the business license hanging right there on the wall behind you. It lists the proprietors." Officer Davison turned and looked at the framed document. "Daily Grind, LLC, registered agents Marcus Jefferson and Maya Jefferson." Officer Davison looked back at Maya. "You're Maya Jefferson." "I am," Maya said. "And Marcus is my father. And this man," she pointed a steady finger at Arthur, "has been harassing me using racial slurs and is now attempting to use you officers as a weapon to facilitate a hate crime." Arthur's face turned a shade of pale, usually reserved for ghosts. That's impossible. You're the barista. You were wearing an apron." "It's called work, Arthur," Maya said, using his name which she had heard him give the dispatcher. "Something you might not be doing much of after today, because you are right about one thing. Security is very important to us." Maya reached under the counter and tapped the touchscreen monitor. "Officer, would you like to see the footage from the last 10 minutes? It captures audio and video in 4K. You can hear him call me, 'you people.' You can hear him admit he has no evidence other than his own prejudice, and you can hear him lying to the 911 dispatcher about me being aggressive." I made a mistake," Arthur stammered. He started to back away toward the door. "I was just being a vigilant citizen. I thought it looked suspicious. I'm just going to go." "Stay right where you are," Officer Miller said, his tone shifting completely. The authority that Arthur thought was his ally had just turned against him. "We have a report of a false emergency call and potential harassment. We need to review that footage." Do you think Arthur realized at this moment that his career was over? Type yes or no in the comments. They watched the footage right there on the store tablet. It was damning. The officers heard the condescension. They heard the "I know your type" comment. They saw Maya's perfect professionalism and Arthur's aggressive bullying. They heard the 911 call where he claimed she was threatening him while the video showed her standing perfectly still. "Mr. Sterling," Officer Miller said, pulling out his handcuffs, "you are under arrest for filing a false police report and misuse of the 911 system. Turn around and place your hands behind your back." "You can't arrest me," Arthur shrieked, the dignity of his Italian suit evaporating instantly. "I'm a partner at Sterling and Finch. I will have your badges. This is a misunderstanding." "The only misunderstanding," Maya said, leaning over the counter, "is that you thought your suit gave you the right to treat people like garbage. You thought I was powerless. You were wrong." Arthur was marched out of the coffee shop in handcuffs past the window where a crowd had gathered. Someone was filming on their phone. Of course they were. Worse. The video hit the internet that evening. By morning it had 2 million views. By the next afternoon, 10 million. The hashtags, #CoffeeShop, Karen, and #DailyGrindJustice were trending globally. The internet detectives went to work. They identified Arthur Sterling within hours. They flooded his law firm's reviews with 1-star ratings. They dug up old cases he had tried looking for bias. They found that Arthur had a history of complaints from junior staff, specifically minority women, that had been swept under the rug by HR. Maya didn't just let the viral moment fade, though. She and her father Marcus took legal action. They sued Arthur Sterling for defamation, emotional distress, and business interference. The civil trial, which took place 8 months later, was a spectacle. Arthur's defense team tried to argue that he was under extreme stress and had made a good faith error. They tried to paint Maya as confrontational for not identifying herself as the owner immediately. But Maya's lawyer, a sharp civil rights attorney named Elena Rodriguez, dismantled that argument in minutes. "Mr. Sterling," Elena asked him on the stand, "if the person behind the counter had been a white man in a suit counting money, would you have assumed he was stealing?" I can't say," Arthur mumbled. "I think we can," Elena replied. She played the footage again. The silence in the courtroom was deafening. The jury deliberated for less than 2 hours. They found Arthur Sterling liable on all counts. They awarded Maya Jefferson $2.5 million in damages, including punitive damages, designed to punish Arthur for his malicious conduct. But the financial cost was just the beginning for Arthur. His law firm, facing a massive boycott and public pressure, fired him. The State Bar Association opened an ethics investigation into his conduct, citing his dishonesty with police as grounds for disbarment. His wife filed for divorce. He was forced to sell his penthouse, the same building he had bragged about living in, to pay his legal fees and the judgment. Arthur Sterling ended up moving back to the suburbs, disgraced and unemployable in his field. He works as a consultant now, but he keeps a low profile. He learned the hard way that in the modern world, respect isn't something you buy with a suit. It's something you give to receive. Maya used the settlement money to launch a non-profit organization called the Grind Foundation. The foundation provides business grants and mentorship to young minority entrepreneurs who want to start their own service industry businesses. She wanted to ensure that the next generation of owners looked like the communities they served. She also implemented a new training program for her staff called Stand Your Ground Service with Dignity. It taught employees that the customer is not always right, especially when they violate the dignity of the worker. Maya is still the VP of operations, but she still takes her Tuesday shifts. The regulars know her story now. They come in, shake her hand, and buy their coffee with a little extra respect. The shop is busier than ever, and right above the register that high-definition camera is still there. A silent guardian, a reminder that the truth has a way of coming out. Final question for you guys. Do you think the punishment fit the crime? Was $2.5 million and the loss of his career enough for what Arthur tried to do? Let me know in the comments below. This story matters because it happens every day. It happens in retail stores, in restaurants, in hotel lobbies. People with a little bit of power and a lot of prejudice think they can bully those they perceive as the help. They rely on the silence of victims. They rely on the benefit of the doubt that society gives to a suit and tie. Maya Jefferson proved that we don't have to accept that dynamic. She showed that knowing your worth, keeping your cool, and having the receipts literally and figuratively is the ultimate defense. Arthur Sterling thought he was punching down. He didn't realize he was punching a brick wall. The lesson here is simple, but expensive. Treat everyone with respect, whether they are the CEO or the janitor. Because you never know who you are talking to, you never know who is watching, and you never know when the person you're trying to frame holds the keys to the entire building. Never judge a book by its cover, and never ever assume the person in the apron doesn't own the place. If this story fired you up, make sure you hit that like button and share this with someone who needs a reminder that justice is best served piping hot. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.
This concludes today's report. To access more official footage, please like and subscribe. Thank you for choosing Bodycam Incident Reports.